So hi, I'm Paige Park. I'm one of the IHL peeps. We are here at Georgetown Market today for our February book club. We are going to be discussing the book Barrens, and our guest speaker today is Rick Monteith. Rick is the owner of Georgetown Market and has 50 years, almost 53 years, which is amazing. And it's this great little light on the west side. So if you've never been to Georgetown Market, I highly recommend coming and checking out all of the goodies that they have. So that's me. Should we just go?
Yeah.
Sure. Maybe a little something, something.
I'm Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi. I'm excited to see what everyone thought.
Hi, I'm Sam, and I'm so excited to see what I thought, and extremely grateful that this was a thing. Hi, I'm Stephanie. I hail from Anderson, Indiana. Hi, I'm Kendra. I'm Carolyn. My husband grew up on the family, but closed because it's all their cows and pasture, and they loved it. But
I'm Stephanie from Anderson as well.
Uh-oh.
Shirt on.
I told you, there's a whole community of you guys. It's
I don't know.
Anderson people sit together.
It's a great book. My second.
I'm Jonathan, a dietitian, fascinated with food system, international food system, domestic food systems. So,
I'm Karen, and I read this book when it came out last year, and I was like, Jonathan, we have to do this for book club. And so I'm just very passionate about all things holistic, and holistic doesn't mean just what you eat or labs or supplements or the skirt, or not about that. It's about understanding the systems that control you. And the only way to really fight back is to ask.
My name's Kelsey, and I'm also super grateful for our local farmers. Places like Georgetown Market and are just been really good to support local business. And yeah, this book made me angry and mad at the system, but then also grateful that we have resources to support.
I'm Nathan Linville, and I grew up farming. And right now I'm a mechanical engineer. We design products that for prostate cancer using sound waves. So no chemo, no chemicals, no medicines.
That's cool.
We fight the pharmaceuticals a lot.
Yeah, you can pass it to Jen. Just introduce yourself.
It's Jen. Hi, I'm Jen.
Thank you.
Ariana, how old are you? Youngest member of the I'm Brian. Good to see you.
Okay. All right. I
Hand it back
would
to
like
Karen.
to have Rick now introduce, well, he did, but to have, we can.
Can we have the online people introduce themselves so that they feel part of it?
Yeah, online.
Those of you who are online, if you would like to introduce yourself, you can pop on your camera and say your name, and I can kind of turn you here so that people can see you. Because you're part of our circle too. If you don't want to, that's also okay.
No, it's not.
Actually, no, it's not okay. Never mind. Online people, introduce yourselves.
Dr. Kim Filkins, owner of Zen Penguin Wellness.
Well, Walmart tried to turn this a little store. Yeah, but
Hello, my name is Jennifer Dekoff. I am a naturopathic doctor, seat of Wisdom Wellness, located in southern Indiana.
No way. People are always asking who they can find. And where are you in southern Indiana?
I'm an hour southeast. I just passed my boards last, probably August.
Okay, so where are you? What town are you in?
I'm in the middle of nowhere, which is the perfect spot.
Okay, I'm from southern Indiana. So yeah.
Yeah, I am. So Greensburg. I'm south of Greensburg.
Okay, if you can please introduce yourself in the Indy Holistic Living Facebook community so that people know who you are and how to find you, because people ask in your communities all the time.
I will. I'm waiting. I did a video. I'm waiting for my video to finish and then I'll post that. It will be good.
Thank you. Perfect.
Hey,
Rebecca.
I'm not gonna turn on my camera, but my name is Becky McClure. I've been a registered nurse for almost, well, I guess it's a little over 30 years now. Followed the healthcare system blindly until the whole COVID debacle, and I started doing some research and got connected with my childhood friend Karen, and it's kind of taken off from there. So I'm excited to be a part of this circle with you guys today.
Good. I'm glad you're here.
We're glad to have all of you here. Thank you for turning your cameras on and introducing yourselves.
I'm going to turn everything over to Rick Monteith so he can talk about his experiences within the grocery industry over the last 53 years.
He's got a mic. Karen, he's got a mic. He's already mic'd. I gave him a dedicated one. Yeah. Can everybody hear Mike? Or hear Rick? Okay. Sound check. Can you hear Rick fine? Somebody give me a thumbs up or something in the chat.
It's a little low.
A little low. Bring it closer to your mouth. You might have to hold it.
How about that? Is that better?
Is that
Yep.
better, Kim?
Better. Good.
Yeah, we're good.
So I'm Rick Monteith, owner, co-owner, founder of Georgetown Market. I'll give you a brief history. Want to hear the full story? Aaron McNicholas and I did a podcast on Waking Indy podcast, episode 44, giving you entire history of meetings of Georgetown. But briefly, first of all, welcome. Thanks for being here today. Sure you did before. So my first exposure to the health industry was in 1969. And my aunt and uncle were managing a health food store in the Glendale Shopping Center. All the time ago. And, so I worked there for the summer of 1969. The basic thing, little boys dropping shelves. I really liked it. I could see my aunt talking with customers with their various health problems. For some reason that really resonated. There she was talking to people about their health problems. They came to her asking for advice. Next time I worked there was before I went to school at Purdue. And I worked that summer, but I did virtually everything as far as opening the store, closing the store. They even had a little, call it sandwich kind of a juice bar where you make sandwiches. Did that. I was much more involved in operations of it. So I got a really good feel for what it's like running a health food store. Went to Purdue, worked a couple of years in 1972. My mom and dad, my mom had worked at the Glendale store for a summer or two. They came to me in the fall of 72. So what do you think about opening up our own health food store? Which I hadn't even thought about. And I was first semester junior year at Purdue. And I'm quite 21 years old. I said, sure. Not knowing what it would take and so forth. So I got a location just south of here on Georgetown Road. And we opened up March 1st, 1973. So we have 53 years here. And so I dropped out of school at Purdue for a semester. My mom and I started the school. My dad wasn't involved at the time. He was an engineer at Allison, so he was still doing that for a living. Got the store started, and Goodrich had opened the year before. There's a store downtown, both dealers, and Glendale was still operating. So very few stores. We opened up. I'll never forget, we're in the new strip center and the store next to us was a liquor store. Store, us, and then Ambrose 40. And the parking lot wasn't even paved yet, it was still gravel. For our rent, it's $462 a month. Square foot store. And we opened up and we had some really slow days. We had 3 days in a row of $40 sales. My dad would come in after he burned the house, come in that third day. So we had 3 days in a row of $40. Just, I think I've lost my shirt. The end. But slowly we just built up our clientele. Then our clientele was mainly say people 50 and over. Discretionary income. We're the only store on the west side was trying to turn to be a lesson. And I went back to school that fall. Next year I got married, so my store wasn't doing well enough to support my wife. So my dad retired from Allison's in April of '74, came in full time. He always wanted to be a doctor. He had this desire to help people. So slowly the sales picked up, and within 3 years we had our bank loan paid off. $25,000 to start a school. Crazy. 25 all the inventory, the shelving, everything we needed. We had very little working capital. This is my mom and I basically starting out. My pay was $100 a week, so there wasn't a big drain on it. But paid off the bank loan in 3 years. Within 3 or 4 years, my dad was making triple of what he was as an engineer at house. So things took off, needless to say. And our deal was that he felt that he wanted to start cutting back, he would ask me to come in full time. That happened in the fall of 1979. And so I came in full time in '79 and just worked on building the business. And the '80s was a continual increase of sales. We did very well. We focused on customer service. At that time, we're actually Georgetown Health Foods, where our focus was more on supplements, because there wasn't many foods at that time. In '78, we opened a juice bar for a lunch. And at Champion Juicer, we offered two types of juice, a large or a small carrot juice. That's what we make. Champion Juicer, make sandwiches, more people. So we just slowly built a business, and then in the '90s, the grocery store started carrying more of what we were carrying. And while that's opened stores north, which is now Whole Foods. And so I knew at that time that the only store on the west side, I didn't want to be a sitting duck. So Wild Oats or Whole Foods came in, they would come in, we'd be gone. So I decided to go on the offense and started searching for sites, and found this site in 1996 and purchased it and opened in the fall of 1997. It's been here since 29 years, which is bottom of mine. So we built a freestanding building. We have great architects. The design of the building, I'm really proud of it. They did a great job with the design. We have these energy filter, walk in the store, the colors of it, the openness of it. And I wanted to have a produce department that was all organic. Today, as far as it is, we still have all organic produce department, with the exception when we buy local produce, we have some of these wherever we can, supporting our local farmers. It's also very important to us. We're still focusing on the organics, organic standards, supporting local suppliers, farmers, and so forth. my kids have always been involved with the business. I have a daughter, Lauren, that's a chiropractor and functional medicine doctor, good friends with Karen. I have a son, Andrew, that's now the owner of the store with COVID, made the majority of the store. He's in charge of day-to-day operations, which allows me to do other things, spend part of the year in the Virgin Islands. Enjoy the warmth.
Yes.
So, I have an older son, Brett, that worked for me until this past November. Fire for the store, did many duties, served as a manager for a couple of years, he wasn't a people person, so he took it role, but he moved out to Arizona back then. Started life for himself, so it's always been a family business. My mom and dad were involved for years. Very important part of the business. My dad passed in '98, my mom passed in 2005. So it's been a very family oriented business, which means a lot. I feel my role is here to serve the community. It's just very important to be of service to address their healthcare needs. Staff, we know our customers on a regular basis, on a first name basis. Of our customers, that's very important to be successful. To survive this day and age, it's kind of hard to describe how difficult it is. Amazon. We have a whole section of books downstairs that we just have to change with the times. And everything we sell, almost everything we sell, can go to any major big box store, Whole Foods, Myers, whatever they this thing. So I think the things that allow us to stay in business is a customer service and the knowledge that we have, given and ask questions of our staff. A personal one-on-one relationships and information for our customers. I still talk to a lot of customers in person, by email. If I'm making Virgin Islands, I still communicate with customers. I'm focusing on the cancer side of things, but we are giving them alternatives. So we managed to stay alive, which every year I wonder when we make it another year. It's really that difficult. Especially buying produce that a couple of years ago, the thing that changed that was very discouraging for us was that our wholesale produce suppliers, to allow them to sell at a lower price to the big box stores, raise their wholesale price to the independent stores. So there are cases where I am paying more for my wholesale. But I can go to a big box store, like show, just with my prime, go pay a retail cheaper than what your wholesale dealers charge you. That's Indianapolis Fruit, gals are family owned, so there's really no competition. Talk to them about it. I think they listen, but there's been really no change on the pricing schedules. We're at a disadvantage from the wholesale standpoint. But I think we make it up on other areas where we're very aggressive on our grocery buying. Be competitive as possible. We offer up the specials. In some cases, our pricing is acceptable for box numbers. It's just a very difficult environment for retail stores. Thankfully, if we survive also despite the competition. The fact that we own our own buildings makes a big difference too. Of course, the landlord are raising rates. The rate of it here has gone up by 6%. So. We're just thankful that place for people like class. Like I said, I understand That's the brief Cliff Notes version of the store. Skip the last stuff. So the podcast, entire story. Appreciate you all being here today.
I didn't know if we were allowed to ask questions.
Yes.
Whenever, you know, so-
So have you ever thought about, or would it be feasible to franchise this kind of operation? Say like in a city like Anderson?
Talked about. You have a decent sized store yet. I don't think starting a store is 50 square. Be able to survive this thing. Yes, where are you gonna focus on them? Supplements, herbs, this bar, which has the true. Like the idea. Hard to take the risk. And have a management team. And somebody that is really sharp and that help in the day-to-day. Numerous conversations like that. Developers come to us asking to store, playfield. All around so they're those spaces are very tenant again. The landlord knowing everything. Yeah.
There's hundreds of vacant buildings in Anderson.
It's possible to buy them, something like that. Sarah and I we've talked about it, but not in depth, mainly because the cost of the store, the cost of started once. Parents said just under $25,000. That's what my sister used to run IBM stock there. She worked at Lateral. So we got the money for it. But it would be well over $1 million.
So how important are demographics? Like, did you even look at demographics when you started your store here? Because I hear that in Anderson all the time. People say, oh, Anderson won't support a health-based grocery store.
That would be key to have the demographics. I mean, I didn't do anything when I opened the store. And I walked in completely. There's a considering risk factor. My dad had everything. He was 63, was retired. So yeah, everything. It's one I didn't have any idea of risk factor. I had a 5-year plan. Let alone a 53-year. First of all, definitely. Was involved in storage, Zionsville back in about 15. That was a combination. So there's a movie store. He wanted to add a national grocery part to his. We did demographics and it was very positive. Enthusiastic, but that didn't work. Didn't have any money. Didn't know working capital. So just 2 or 3. That pushed it. Demographics. So.
Really? I mean, that was something that.
Well, I mean, I guess one of the things that was, I would say, like, I'd be curious to know about what particulars of the community have led to your success of flexing the sustainability over the 50 years. Like, what has been some of the tried and true aspect of their community is to help the stores stay strong and help the community.
We learned in 2013 that we would do social media.
Oh,
So they really helped us getting our Facebook page, building Instagram and so forth. But just working with the community, we're in a very diverse, continually change. I think that's a big plus for us. Yeah, we're very diverse. That's so we have to be mindful of what our types of foods. Especially back several times. Finally, reaching out to the community and working with them to understand their needs. Make them change on social media where the things that worked before. Stop looking to kind of reinvent ourselves. We do that every 5-6 years. We find ourselves reinventing ourselves, trying to figure out what we need to do to stay current. A really good job with that. And his forte is watching the numbers of our financials really well, which was kind of fun. It's made a big difference. So glad that you decided to take over operations of the store. It's hard to supply to the third generation.
What were some of your favorite points?
A lot of the stories that I've heard. I think the in depth about some of the listening. I think just in general, like the knowledge is great, and I feel like the book left us in a place of like, but now what? Like, where do we take this information now? Like, what kind of action are we supposed to think about moving forward? So that was one thing I wanted to ask somebody else about what your thoughts were moving forward. Like, where did you take the information yourself?
we can stop subsidizing.
Subsidizing what?
Soybean and or Texas money. Yes, because I know a lady, she's like, oh, I stop planting was a big brain. And then I never understood why. It's like, it's okay too. Like he only put out half of the field of soybeans that year. It's like, they don't really. And my grandpa was 12 grandfather. But I'm like, they don't feed America though. Like, I mean, they don't. And when I went to the state fair one year before I was moving away to the boys, and I went to the soybean farm, you know, the big soybean barn, and I'm like, what your soybeans go to make? What food? And I open it, everything's an ultra processed box. And I'm like, feeding America, we're making them sicker because it's cheaper. And then it's gross.
Do they still do that at the state?
Oh yeah, they have a big glass barn that just, you know, just.
What an opportunity.
Yeah, so it's like, or something like, but yes, it's like a big, like beautiful.
They're open about it.
We're not with kids here.
Yeah.
All they
Oh yeah.
What an
Oh, yeah.
opportunity. All that out.
Soybeans make.
I mean, yeah, they're pretty braggy about it.
Very.
Let them be.
Yeah. So
Let them.
it's just gross.
That's awesome.
And then the corn spray, like they do so much, and then they go and feed it to animals, and then it's like,
yeah.
So even if you buy your organic produce, if you're eating a steak cow GMO, pesticide ridden corn. It's not organic. So I read that because I'm like all around me, soybean, corn, you don't have anything else in there. In Indiana anymore, it's all corn. And because where we live, we have a big grain elevator. And they run out of space in the bins, but they start putting it outside. So there's like tons of piles of corn. Like, who needs this much more? Like, I'm like, because I know we're not the only state that grows it. So I'm like, where does all this production go? But yet, we don't have cultures. We don't have focus farmers. I mean, we have small ones, you know, like birds and stuff. But they don't. But just not like it's money. So it's just that just kind of thing. My grandpa, they do pretty well. But they do well, and then it's like the little farms. Like my husband, they run 100 head, and then once you get the dairies, drive it down to buy. So the saddest day my father-in-law's life was Denny's cats. But the older the age, it wasn't like that kind of him. I'm not all through the dairy chapter, but I knew that was kind of do it. Or it's all all their cows had names. They treated them like family. But they ate wonderfully, pasture, silage, everything they did. And it's like they were happy, healthy cows. But I mean, today that might have been great because they just sold raw dairy, but at that time that wasn't a big taboo. Like they don't drink it. He grew up on raw dairy because he just goes to milk and we grew up on raw dairy, but back then you didn't. And then like the pharaohs, like not long ago that there was that video where they were actually abusing their animals. Like, so yeah, so taking them having yes, because awful. No, and then they don't see they're in a stall.
And they're still going. Not
Yeah.
verified milk.
Whatever.
Fake milk.
Yeah, and we went back a long time ago. He's now 20. I walk on the carousel. I spin around. I walk out. And I go to the street. And then like the walk of the it's like, oh, that's it. They made it just like this, which is good for kids to see it, but like it's like these agro business or like it's just
I have questions for Rebecca and
Pass her the mic.
can I just,
I had some.
She had something to say first. Yeah, and make sure you guys, just so people can hear, you'll have to hold it like a little closer to your mouth. And we are recording this so that people will hear questions.
You asked the question like, what now? And I don't know about everyone else, but when I got to the conclusion, fantastic book. When I got to the conclusion, I was extremely disappointed. The notion that we have to change the heavy conclusion that like it all relies on changing policies and legislations and electing certain officials, even though the book demonstrated multiple examples of elected officials that have constantly campaigned for one thing, and then once they're in office, they do an opposite thing. So that part was like, I think it fell short, and there was an opportunity there to expose how much power individuals do have and expose how much choice we do have. We are victims. We are blinded by all of the different products that are under different names, but it's places like Georgetown, it's places like Good Earth, Brenneman Farm, stewards of the land, farmers markets is like the silent resistance of the world. And it's understanding that, like, I guess when you're like, what do we do from here? In my opinion, it's start adding more inconveniences in your life, little by little, because we're all working. Some of us have 1-2 jobs, but acknowledge like we obviously have time. There are people working right now that don't get to come to this book club and have this luxury of sitting around and having these discussions. So it's the people who have the time and luxury to have the discussions. You also have time to research where your money's going. You have time to research where your salt's coming from, what your granola, what's in your granola bars and who's making it. The power of localization, using cash to support those farmers, is beyond important. It's looking at your life and saying, what can I eliminate from buying and make on my own? Whether it's laundry detergent, whether it's bread, whether it's jams. Maybe we don't buy eggs for the next couple months because some people let their chickens rest and there's not going to be enough eggs in the market. Or we go without bread because I don't have time to make it in the next 2 weeks. And it's getting creative in those ways, but ultimately, I wish it mentioned more at the conclusion how your dollar is the voting system. Your dollar and how this country was built will always be the voting system. And sometimes it's just within a busy day and a busy life. If people are like, oh, well, it's so much easier to run to Costco. There's a Walmart supercenter or neighborhood market. I could walk there from my house. And boy, there's times that I just want to run to the store when I forgot butter, but I'm going to come here instead. And I cannot, especially now, this kind of solidified it for me, but it's those types of inconveniences that I feel like people of a certain of a certain socioeconomic class can start implementing that and really acknowledge that. Look at your life, figure out where you're putting your dollar, and decide whether or not you can find something to support that. Bridget.
Yes.
Bridget,
Yeah.
sister.
I just had something to kind of piggyback on what you had, because I did. I felt very, very, I don't know. I'm a doer. If you know me, I'm a doer. Like I kind of like one of those people. Oh, sorry. I'm one of those people that like, don't come to me unless you want your problem fixed. Like, cause like when you tell me something, I'll be like, no, let's make this happen now. And my husband knows all too well, like, we don't talk about something because like, he's like, no, it will be done when I come home tomorrow. So I was left very kind of inspired, a little bit. I mean, yeah, angry. I've been angry. So that was not new to me. However, the community has a lot it can do, even our businesses. Like, so yeah, if you, I don't want to sound disrespectful because politics, sure, do they have their place? I guess, if that's your government, but there are ways to do around that. And it's just how you fill out the form, basically, right? So I think it's a lot to focus on. Okay, yes, they do put us in this like box, right, that we have to stay in, but that box is pretty big right now. So how do we just like get outside the box instead of, okay, here's the policies that we can beg for change. And I love the freedom bill, the food freedom bill. Yeah, that is going on. And I think that's great. And we could get somewhere with it. But there's like, we're putting ourselves in that box. Does that make sense?
No, what do you mean?
Like
be black and white.
Like, okay, so such as like, I have a small business, right? So I have an LLC, had LLC, but I learned that if I just didn't have an LLC, but instead a private association, I don't have to do anything with the government because that's not my government. The government is a corporation. So if you work within that corporation, then sure, you have to abide by their laws and their statutes and all that stuff. But when they come to my business saying, oh, you claim to be organic in your business, let me show me your testing, show me your certifications. Sorry, it's a private association. I don't have to show you anything because you're not in the association. So there are ways to get around it, I think, that we just don't spend enough time talking about because I think everybody just doesn't really have the time, right? Like, we're all busy. So I think the empowerment in that aspect really stood out to me. It's like, okay, how do you fuel your community in supporting people in ways that don't support the system at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a whole like topic.
Sorry,
that we should
sorry.
do.
That's just where I left off with it, was like, yes, it's,
Yeah.
but it like kind of inspired me because it is corrupt in almost every industry in the food production industry. And we weren't as people meant to rely on this big food production industry. We were meant to rely on our communities, and our communities don't register. That wasn't really a thing, but we don't know it's not a thing. So I guess that's where is like, can we teach people that we don't have to take part in their big game? I don't know. So,
I don't know, but that sounds awesome.
I don't know. That's just my
Think
little
about it.
piece of it. So
I've never heard of such a thing.
Like the church, they.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't understand it.
It's how the 1%ers do it and get away with it because they don't pay taxes. You don't have to pay taxes. But anyway, so that's just where the book left off with me, is that instead of focusing on, okay, what now? Well, fix it, work around it. But
Do you have an idea of that?
sorry.
He doesn't need the mic. He's got one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. Part of- part of
Yeah.
the versus
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
farmers
sure.
that do that.
businesses that are doing. And I'm definitely interested in exploring probably one place. Sounds bad.
Right.
So I just need to find someone that's an expert setting up. You know, charge like a dollar membership fee or something.
I charge a penny because you have to charge something, and I actually take it out of their first sale. So I take it out of my own profits to pay their association fee to do business with me. And the inconvenient part is that I do have them just sign a contract
They have to sign.
saying they have to sign
One time.
one time. And then, hey, if you don't want, but it's not like an NDA, like it's not, I'm sure I could hold it up in court if somebody wanted to do something, but like, it's not that serious with me. But yes, so
So does everyone have to do that? Do business with?
But that's like the education piece,
yeah,
right?
but
Like,
it
you
would
get
be
a
like
moment.
signing a receipt, right? Is like with their first sale, they sign a receipt that says that a penny of their sales is going towards my business and their association with my business. And that allows me to not do a lot of things.
Try to visualize other.
Right. At
But
a
is
large
that
scale.
the education piece though? It's like, but when you're saying sign this, like you're explaining to them,
Yeah.
this removes
Oh,
me
yeah.
from the
Yeah.
system. And
I mean, yeah,
okay,
most people that do business with me are, I mean,
understand
Yeah.
like what the value is.
and I just tell them, I was like, hey, like, this is how I can be a business, a sovereign business, right? Like, I don't have somebody to answer to because I am in control of my own sovereignty and therefore my business.
My mind also goes to restaurants because my husband likes to go out and eat. So I don't trust any restaurants. And as a matter of fact, we went out Friday night and I'm pretty sure I had food poisoning.
Mm.
So where do you start getting, because there's how many distributors here in Indiana? Cisco, USA Foods.
Piazza, there's full.
So they're the ones who are trucking in all this processed food. And restaurants don't seem to care, right? They're just, as long as they get the food, then they can throw it in the oven or microwave and reheat it and serve it and call it.
Hear from us, once we speak up. and ask
Right.
people to work. Your products contain seed oils and start asking questions like that. What kind of butter are you using?
Oh, yeah.
Where's the meat come from? That's where it's gonna start.
And
So
you should
again,
see
it goes
the
back
look
to
on
the
their
matter,
face
it
when
goes
you
back
ask
to
them.
convenience, right? It's convenient to go out and eat.
Well,
Let somebody else prepare your food and not worry about where it comes from.
I think in every aspect of your life, though, if you are giving away some of convenience, right? You're saying, hey, help me out here. You're giving up something every single time. So that's how they sell you convenience. So, but it's inconvenient.
speaking at like the meeting.
Sure.
About like, I mean,
That's occurred in similar types of organizations. I mean, for us, was really lifesaver when COVID first started. Otherwise, it's a pain in the neck.
That's exactly what I
That's
said.
your problem. The part that gets me, and my son Andrew oversees all these things and knows much more than the profitability of support, genius factor. For food service, we use. We give away like 20% of. So that part really is. Yeah, the cost of doing business like this. It's difficult. We're getting greater margins. So that's something like. A couple nights ago, a lady was here. I didn't know she was shop with her. She asked me, "Where's this? Where's that?" An employee told me that she's the Mastercard. So she comes in and just ask us where things are. So we have to use our staff time to go find us. Labor costs involved, inconvenience, we're taking our time. That's part of doing business. And solution is the best way to get it. So.
Do you guys offer something like an option where they can place an order with you and do like a curbside pickup?
We tried that.
Oh,
Software we're using, the cost of using that offset the profits we're making. So we had our website, you can shop on our website, and we can have it ready to be picked up and so forth, but it's just too costly.
yeah.
I have a question for the Southern Indiana people. So, Becky and what's our naturopath's name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer and Beck. So I'm from Southern Indiana. Jonathan lives in Columbus. And growing up there, we had an IGA, and then we finally got a Walmart, we had a Kmart. So my question is for people who know better. What are the grocery stores like now? Like, do you have more accessibility to local food and markets? And are the grocery stores better? Do you have, as far as, are they selling anything local? What is it like being able to purchase truly healthy, local, chemical-free food when you're in a rural area?
It's a good question.
Jennifer,
hey.
Rebecca.
Hey, yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
go ahead.
Hey, this is Becky. So I live in Crawford County. We have geographically, we're pretty spread out. We have about 10,000 population here. We personally own around 20 acres. Now, I will tell you, to answer your question, it is very, very hard to find local produce here, especially here in Crawford County. So we go to the next county over, Harrison County. That's only available to us, through the summer when they have the farmers market. Thank God for Tad Streepy. I didn't even know he existed. Until Karen and I, got back together. And but even at that, he grows a limited amount of produce. So in order to get that nutritionally balanced stuff, we as a family have decided that we're just going to have to do it ourselves, which is totally fine. But I'm so disappointed. It literally, if I have to go into Walmart, I gripe to my husband, because the first thing you see when you walk in Walmart is candy or chips or all this other crap. And then it seems like that section of junk food has just grown and grown and grown. And so, yeah, it's extremely hard to find that level of nutrition produce like that. So we as a family have decided that we are just going to have to start small and do our own thing here, and then hopefully, teach the people in our paths on how to do the same thing. So that's kind of our plan for this spring and summer, is to do our own thing, and then just hopefully it'll ripple out. Did that answer your question, Karen? I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I've always, noticed that, when you get out into these rural areas where people have the land to grow a lot of their own food and to can and freeze and to be able to farm. A lot of people still don't. And that always blows my mind.
Yeah, we were pretty busy. My husband and I, before we retired, we were pretty busy raising kids. And of course, I have triplet sons, and raising them, it was just so exhausting to even think about doing our own farming. However, we grew up on having my dad put out a garden. We had good food. We ate at home. We only ate out once every 2 weeks. So, I grew up, with all of that. But it was just so convenient raising a family. And I think looking back, families need to be intentional. We just need to be intentional, and it takes planning. And it just, moving forward, knowing what we know, jumping on the bandwagon of, helping with legislation. If that's where we need to go, that's fine. However, I will say this, that aspect of it, I kind of leave that to the people that are well educated in that. But what I can say, to circle back around, is I can only do what I can do for my family, and hopefully it just reaches out to when my boys get married, and to friends and the kids that we take in and stuff. So yeah.
Absolutely. Jennifer?
Yeah, so the grocery store, not every grocery store is alike, right? So I shop for organic, and but still, once that produce comes off the vine, it starts to be depleted in nutritional value. So the best thing that you can do for your food source is to grow your own, which I know that's difficult to do. So the best places to find your food sources are looking for those, those like co-ops, like those group farms where you can, all pitch in together. That would be great. But here where I'm located, I do garden. I grow a lot of my own food here. I do a lot of preservation of foods. But then still our soil has changed drastically over the years. So it's a work in progress to get the soil back to a living soil full of good microbiome, right? And so, because you can grow the best produce, like in the grocery store, it looks fantastic, but nutritional value, you really don't know. Like, that's it. You don't know if it's there. So I've been accessing Grass Corp and Tyner Pond Farms for my milk and my beef and my chicken. I feel like those are two good sources there. Otherwise, so I don't know I'm not familiar with the Indianapolis area, but yeah, that would be the best thing to do, is just find some like-minded individuals and try to, grow your own. But the nutritional value begins with the soil. So you got to find good living soil, which is kind of hard to do. It takes work.
Oh yeah, we're all big soil nerds here. Do you know Tad Streepy in Corydon, Indiana?
Say that again.
You know Tad Streepy with Gypsy Rain Organics in Corydon, Indiana?
No,
He has one of the largest organic, chemical-free, regenerative vegetable and medicinal herb farms.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what Becky, who's there, I keep wanting to call her Becky Everman. That's what Becky, who's online with you, that's who she sources a lot of her seasonal produce from. And he has a CSA throughout Southern Indiana, and he serves a lot of the Southern Indiana counties.
So what's his name again?
Gypsy Rain Organics. He's
Okay.
very active in Indie Holistic Living, and he's right now fighting at the state level with Senate for food freedom. For farmers.
Nice.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, you should know him.
Yes, I will get to know him.
Yes.
I think like the biggest thing, especially for people who are in inner city, is to have like grace for just give yourself some grace. Timing, yes, is a big thing, but if you start your first year just growing herbs on your balcony in your apartment, that's doing something. And then once you start mastering, and this is kind of what the takeaway, like the book for me was. So we live about 5 minutes east of here, in the Crooked Creek neighborhood, which is one of the most diverse neighborhoods in the city. And to us, so we live on a half acre, and we have like a permaculture food forest in our whole front south facing yard. And the goal with that is to eventually become self-sustainable, and then we can start feeding the neighborhood, because you can't feed your neighbor until you can feed yourself. And when we say, you know, what can we do? And it's wonderful, people starting a garden and feeding themselves. And I think the biggest thing is like having compassion and having and giving yourself a little bit of cutting yourself some slack, because we see how crazy the food system is. But if there is nothing in the community that you can access, sometimes it's distinguishing and acknowledging that you may have to be the person that is exposing the community to that. And I don't know how much of in this group permaculture is in your life, or the understanding of permaculture, but it also is a realm that we've been trying to educate neighbors on, because annual garden beds are very energy intensive, and it's done in a season, and then you got to do it again and baby it all over again. And the beauty of permaculture is being able to have a constant sustainable food supply throughout the seasons. And then once you baby it the first couple of seasons, you're able to now have a sustainable food forest that will essentially permanent and alleviate some of that stress and pressure. But the reward is the abundance and having so much that animals can eat, predators can eat, you can eat, and then man, we have enough to just give away at a certain point, and maybe we don't even need to charge for it because we're okay. So I think it's wonderful putting the food security back into one's backyard or apartment balcony or whatever space. That's the beauty of it, is understanding you can grow a whole ton of food on a very small space. So
Yeah, can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree 100% of what you're saying. You know, the thing that worries me moving forward, you know, my husband and I are older, and we're getting older every day, thank you. But it really worries me about who's going to come behind us. Who's the next generation? We're fighting, it seems like we are fighting such a big fight everywhere we turn that, you know, there's just, I'm just kind of concerned on the next generation. Who's going to step up to the plate and, you know, fight this fight? do the farming, do the work, the physical work. You know, it seems like a lot of these younger ones doesn't want to do physical work. So that I think most of all, I can pretty sustain myself and my husband and my children. But I think the concern for me for the future is the whole who's going to do the work, you know? Does anybody else feel that way? Have you thought about it?
Being a high school teacher and seeing the illness, the medical alerts on all my students. But actually, it's funny because I work with, so I teach English as a new language. So I deal with students coming into the country. So I don't see as many medical alerts as when I dealt with the American population or local kids. But they come in and just tell me how awful our food is. And, where can I get real bread? So with my environmental club, I'm teaching them to make sourdough and whatnot. They just love it. But yeah, I mean, our youth, they're just stricken by what's available. And it's, I don't know. It's like we have to hit some kind of breaking point, and it'll happen. Next 50 years, I don't know. I mean, at some point, the medical industry, I mean, the health issues are just going to get so insurmountable that, it's going to force people to live differently. We're going to go through a tremendous amount of pain as a society. But, yeah, I don't know.
I think that's the goal. And
Yeah, I guess in a system.
if you have bad food, then you need medicine.
Well, they solve the problem and the solution.
Yeah, that's good. You make people that they don't want to cure you; they just want to make you well enough that you have to sustain. I mean, just like our fighting prostate cancer, they don't want you to heal because they can get you on chemo. They can keep you in there for a while. Now, where you could just be healed in one day and you're done, right? And you're playing golf the next day and everything's fine. But I see that in a lot of things. And even like growing up on a farm, a lot of the old farmers, there's not people coming up to take over the land. So when data centers and all these people are coming in, it's just sure. I mean, we have nothing else. There's nothing, no one else wants to buy it unless it's a housing addition comes in or a solar farm. I've seen hundreds of acres of good land just gone to solar farms. And it's not retrievable. It's just gone. So
But
it's just really sad.
I think it's hard to so when we are concerned with the younger generation, I'll throw myself in there as well. It's hard. Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
It's hard to stay focused or I shouldn't say hard to stay focused on it, but we have to acknowledge that they're learning from somewhere. And especially in my area, it's like, where we see this mostly is like people of color. And I'm first generation, born in America. And so when we see like the communities of people having to go to a specific place to get their bread, a specific place to get their meat, kind of how it described in the book before Walmart's came in and destroyed that, it's up to people to expose the younger generation. I don't necessarily think that it's that they don't want to do the hard work. I think it's more so that they don't understand that there's hard work to be done. Or they just don't have land access is an incredible obstacle. There are many people, even in this city, who would love to do great things and have that 3 acres of land, 1 acre of land to grow food for the community. But when the average first-time home buyer or any sort of land is 40 years old, that just shows you that the systems at play are specifically designing it so that youth cannot enter and do these magnificent things to heal the land and then grow on the land. So it's hard to, pinpoint it to youth when there's just 10 times, 100 times more obstacles in the way and not enough exposure. And that's fantastic that, you're teaching them how to make bread and doing different obstacles, but because at home, they're probably not getting that, especially immigrant families who are working dog shit hours and 2-3 jobs and just don't have the time to sit with their kids to do that. Their kids are in after school programs with other adults raising them because we've been pressured to make money. So it's more of what if there's an environment out there, people enough that care enough to say, how do I get in front of the youth? How do I show them where a carrot comes from? It's incredible how many kids that don't know where food actually comes from.
It's really amazing working with that community. I mean, they're I just think it's like the prize of our current society. Our kids coming in and knowing how the world really works. Our American kids are clueless. They are absolutely ignorant to it. Not for their own fault, it's just the way it is.
This just takes me
They live in their bubbles and but I don't know. I'm very grateful for what I do for a living. So
He has to log into the app and order.
I'm curious about your process. Like that you do that.
You hear about farms, some approaches like at Church Point. So it's a process of us learning about them, or we read about somebody. Grocery buyer does a good job of scouting brands and labels, and find out where that kind of differentiates us from the other stores. Grocery buyer like that, some unique things that we have two main wholesale distributors. There's also small wholesalers. They're buying. So it's a fairly complex situation, but it's really hard to buyer reaching out. If I see a brand that we don't carry, I'll send it. Message after the check. Ask them if it carries for product. You have a source for us. Kind of ease situation. But locally we're finding. So say specifics of how many we're dealing with. I know my grocery buyer, my son Andrew, especially when it comes to big products. Source, but the challenge there is when they sell to us at a wholesale cost that we can sell at a fairly reasonable retail. Big challenge there too. Some farmers that want to sell below what they sell to. It's just case of sourdough bread we picked up with Danielle Hansberry. She's out in Coatesville. She realized that she needed a better price. So there's some give and take where we take one of the farmers and she's going to work with us. She'll know what to sell. Actually, we'll know some sourdough bread or sourdough pickles. So it's safe for those types of situations.
That's good. Tab Streepy's getting ready to join. Rick, Tab Streepy owns Gypsy Rain Organics. Yeah, down in southern Indiana. And this summer, he was almost shut down by a new person who was a health inspector for that county. And so they weren't right. And he contacted people up here, he contacted Purdue. They all said this.
This is being.
Now that has propelled him and another lady who has a local ferment business in Oregon. They are now fighting. Gosh, every time they're in session in downtown Indy for home-based vendors. And for the, is it the Indiana Food Freedom Act?
Yeah.
Or is it, okay, Food Freedom Act, but he has some of the largest three-season vegetables, CSA, and medicinal herb. He also does stuffed animals, quail eggs. Yeah, a lot. If you're able to count.
It's being annoying. Okay.
He just the hop on because of the book and what he's trying to create. He's been working a lot with. He tried working with WIC so that people who get WIC benefits could come directly to his farm, not on any type of a middleman. And EBT, and food stamps. So he's just a mover and a shaker. He's one of the only farmers I know. This is something that I appreciate. Doesn't cut their chemical-free, beautiful produce in a plastic bag.
Yes.
So I just love that because you can go get some of the most amazing food from a market and they shove it in the plastic. It bothers me so bad.
She's from Jennings County. And going and seeing you're driving by a Dollar General market.
Yes. It's what I
There's one in
Cambridge
City too.
too.
Dollar General Market.
Quick.
Easy.
Rick, you support Pike Farm Market every year.
Yeah, like, yeah.
Where is that?
Right off of Lafayette Road. As soon as you go Kessler to, or 56, they'll turn south on that.
He's here.
What's up, everybody?
You should know better than to ask Karen technical questions. Always send that stuff to me.
You'll never get anywhere with me.
Yeah. You won't get anywhere with her.
Is there anybody here that doesn't know Tab's Drew? So Tab, we're here with Rick Monteith, who owns Georgetown Market. He and his son, but he created Georgetown Market back in the 70s as a local health food store up in the north, up on the west side of Indianapolis. And we're here today in his store.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, nice to meet you too.
So we were talking about, what is your name again?
Sam.
Yes. Sam. We just met Sam today and she's got it going on. This is talking so much. We're talking. There's another lady who's online with you, who's in Southern Indiana, who's a naturopath, and she doesn't know who you are.
So Jennifer, this is Tad.
Hey, Jennifer.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
PSA members, Becky's on there.
Where are you in Southern Indiana?
I am located an hour southeast of Indianapolis. So I'm like between, if you know the little bitty, you know where Westport is?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm like between Westport and Millhausen area, which is
Okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. Nice. So you're not too far. You're not too far from me.
Yeah. You're probably still an hour though, aren't you?
Yeah. Just because I think you're east of me.
Yes.
Yeah. But still, I mean, I go up to Karen's often enough, and she's 2 hours away from me. So
Yeah.
I don't care about how far I have to drive. I'm always going to support local, always, because the
Right.
perseverance is real. and it's what keeps people in trouble. So we drive all over the state supporting local farmers all the time because it's what we value, right?
Right.
Yeah.
This is maybe actually for Dad to also, I'm curious from a business standpoint because for all of these things to actually succeed, the money has to make sense across the board, whether it's sourdough relationship or otherwise. Maybe and negotiation and actually get involved in a business standpoint and how those relationships last over time. How to get initiated. Both people have to come to the table and agree to that, right, in order for it to work for both.
Clarify your question as far as side of it.
So just with respect to the relationships built from whether it's a producer and then putting it into a retail store, like how do those relationships get started? Like how do people, if they are producing on their farm, supplements and whatever else?
I'm sure mine's different than his. Being a farm.
Many suppliers.
And most coming to us, we know what we are now. Majority of the farm coming through. Sent to us, like, interested in selling to us, we have to evaluate. Pressure will be, terms are, this is just really a one-on-one situation, working with each vendor. Or wanting to sell one product or a few products, and it makes it a little more difficult. That's what they're bringing in, which makes us separates us from the big box stores. So there's no formula. It's our buyers communicating with each vendor, supplier, and deciding. But that's assignment based product group that it'll sell. That way we don't have any risk involved. We have to buy 12 products that don't sell and number stuff. I'm sure his situation.
Tad, did you hear Jonathan's question?
I heard kind of. What was the question again though?
Yeah, can you hear me right now?
Can you hear him now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so my question is, with respect to actually building relationships from the farm and in putting them into retail or putting them into the distribution network for yourself, like what is the thing that helps that relationship succeed? What is the thing that allows your farm to have success whenever you're thinking about where to put some of your produce, where to put some of your
So one big thing is consistency, especially if you're getting into retail. You've got to make sure that you're going to be able to have the product for them when they want it, and that helps build a lot of trust. The way I did it initially before I knew anybody was, I was kind of like a encyclopedia salesman. I was just going door to door kind of deal, going to different businesses, different restaurants, stuff that I thought that the restaurant might be interested in. I'd make a big basket of it, take it in there, and ask who do I need to talk to, kind of deal. And once you I guess create that initial meeting and get your foot in the door, it's all about knowing your product, because you're not just selling your product, you're selling yourself also. And you have to really believe in what you do and how you do it, because that comes through in whenever you're trying to say, hey, you know, this is the best thing that you can be serving in your restaurant or, you know, selling in your retail shop. So a lot of it is, you know, after creating that initial contact is, you know, the consistency, the being able to speak, really, I guess for lack of a better word, intelligently about your products and why you feel that they're the best option for them. And just keep after it. Like I said, consistency has been a big thing for us, and you know, getting people what they want when they want it.
I have a question for you. How much government oversight do you get as far as, like, if you wanted to, someone was starting a new farm, is there a lot of permits? Is there a lot of, do you have to have your product tested? Do you have to?
So right now in Indiana, if you're under a certain amount, if your farm makes under a certain amount, you fall under a certain amount of rules, and you don't have to. You kind of fall under a cottage rule kind of thing. Now, the problem with Indiana is they're a home-based state. So while each county health inspector can't go against federal law, they can go above and beyond federal law if they want to. So it's really, and that's up until this past year, I had a really good relationship with our health inspector. And for those of you who don't know our story this year, one of our biggest sellers and part of the farm that we put a lot of money into so that we could do it because it was such a problem with all the foodborne illnesses in stores was our lettuce mix. Federal law looks at lettuce mixes different than any other kind of cut green. They look at it as a prepared vegetable because they assume that most people take these lettuces, chop them up, put them in a bag. So after that initial harvest cut, they think it's cut more. We've got a special machine that it only cuts once. It's only touched by human hands once. Anyway, with all these new guidelines that came out from Purdue, you know, Indiana Department of Health, apparently some of them were telling counties to treat the guidelines as laws, telling some of them that they're just guidelines. So there's a lot of gray area, a lot of confusion. Well, our health inspector told us that we couldn't sell our lettuce mix anymore. So that kind of turned, from that point on, I've kind of been turned into a lobbyist and a fighter for food freedoms. And so there shouldn't be, especially for a small farm starting out, if you're just, you know, to be able to grow vegetables, there shouldn't be, as long as you're zoned agriculture, there's a lot of leeway in what you can do, depending on what you want to do. So my suggestion, because now my farm and a few other farms in Harrison County do not have a very good working relationship with our health inspector, and it does make things difficult. If you're a new farmer starting out, I highly suggest, you know, starting out on a good foot with your local health inspector. Get to know them, talk to them about your intentions, you know, all that stuff, because it's only going to make it easier for you in the long run.
Thank you.
I will say that, you know, whenever I first started out, our health inspector, super cool guy. We even worked through some stuff like whenever we first started selling quail eggs. We, for some reason, State Department of Health was having a problem with it and had sent word down to all the counties that the county health inspectors were not supposed to let anybody sell quail eggs. Well, right here in Harrison County at the casino, the restaurant there is one of their dishes has quail eggs on it. And it's like, well, you know, come on, if they can do it, why can't we do it? So me and our health inspector at the time, we did a workaround and got a certain food permit that would allow us to you know, sell our quail eggs, and you know, everything worked out fine. It satisfied everybody and we were all good. This health inspector has not been very helpful, to say the least.
I have a question. I have a question about the food labels and labels. So, and maybe this is a silly question, but so we buy raw milk from Brandman Farm and from Georgetown Market, and it's labeled as Pet's milk. So,
Right.
are there loopholes that the inspectors won't or aren't able to touch because, like, our mixed greens, or it's rabbit food, or like, things of that nature, where it's almost like you, and it has to be so ridiculous just to avoid red tape or small farm.
Yeah. So see, and that's kind of the fight that I'm in now is, yes, there's possibly a workaround that we could do with labeling, and so like I said, the federal government looks at mixed greens differently than any other cut greens, even though they can be harvested the same way, and you know, everything else, because there's been so much problem with lettuce mixes in grocery stores. We could probably label our lettuce as say just mixed greens instead of lettuce mix, and it'd be all right, because in the law it specifically says mixed greens are okay, but lettuce mixes are not okay. So it's and that's what, with this food freedom bill, that one of the things that we're trying to iron out is, at least in Indiana, give a definition that for lettuce mixes, single cut lettuce mixes, you know, lettuce mixes that aren't further prepared, and put that language in the bill so that there is, you know, a specific part of this bill that deals with lettuce mixes when they're done properly. But yeah, I thought about doing that. I thought about labeling my lettuce mix after she said we couldn't do it. I thought about just labeling it as mixed greens. But then you run into the problem, since she's already breathing down my neck and I sell it, is she going to hit me for not only selling mixed lettuce, but mislabeling my products also? So it was one of those things that, you know, maybe if I would have started out the season knowing that she was going to have a problem with it and would have labeled it just mixed greens, she would have never batted an eye at it. I don't know. But at this point, I'm already knee deep in this stuff. So we're past doing the workarounds, and we're trying to change laws.
All right, who's helping you there at the state level, Tad?
So, Senator or Representative.
We know who to vote for.
Yeah, Representative Smith is the one who helped us bring the bill forward at the House level. It already cleared the House. Now I can get you guys a list of who's on the committee, but Gary Byrne, who is our senator down here in District 47, he has been all on board with us and helping, Representative Smith get the ball rolling. And it's, whenever we went up there on Tuesday, I want to say we talked to at least 10 different senators. The only one that we talked to that at least isn't on board with the idea of the food freedom bill was Senator Leising. And she's the one that has struck down, because she's actually the head of the Food and Agriculture Committee, which is usually where these types of bills, they have to go through that committee. She has struck down every food freedom bill that has come across her desk and never even let it out of committee to get to the floor. So we went through a different avenue and went through a different committee who she is just a part of and not a head of, so that hopefully we can at least get it through the committee and get it to a floor vote. But yeah, everybody that we talk to, with the exception of her, is really on board for these food freedoms and understands the benefits and why we want to do a lot of, a good majority of the senators that we talk to come from farming families or have farms themselves, and, understand that, this isn't just something to help big businesses or anything. This helps, it touches all kinds of issues and helps, all of Indiana. So yeah, we're really hopeful.
Hey, Tad, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for fighting the war. You are amazing. You are a warrior. So I just pray that God will continue to give you the strength and the fortitude to fight it, because it's important. So important.
Thank you.
And secondly, for those of us like know little to nothing about politics, or who my senator is, or anything else, how can we learn more about how to join you in the fight?
So the way that I keep people up to date is we created a site. It's called, or a Facebook page. It's called Hoosiers for Food Freedom. And anytime we have any kind of, so we're actually hooked up with Institute for Justice. At the beginning of the year, whenever this all started happening, we reached out to them and they were like, yeah, this is right up our alley. We want to help you guys. So they're a nonprofit organization that help people all over the United States, in different states, fight for, among other things, a big part of what they do is food freedoms. So they've been helping us out a lot. Whenever we start a new letter writing campaign, or anytime that, I'm trying to fire people up to write our senators or whatever, I always put links up on that site or on that Facebook group. And, so it's really easy for people. They just have to click the link and put their name on it and send it. And it automatically, if you put your address in there, it automatically sends it to the senators in your district.
Is that Hoosiers for Food Freedom?
Correct.
Like, I didn't know we had 50 senators in the state meeting.
You say people who are ignorant about government and everything. Before this happened, I was the same way. It's been a definite education in government and the way government works. And if you ever get a chance, if you've ever wondered why government is as inefficient as it is, go up to the State House one day when the branches are in session. It is the most disorganized, chaotic mess I have ever seen. It is amazing. You know, I was in the military, and so I know how it works, but I'm amazed that anything gets done in that place.
Preach it, brother.
Yeah, and I guess you all saw that one bill that passed the House in Indiana that was given free reign to data centers, that they got killed in the Senate.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, it got killed. Thank goodness. Yeah, it's definitely, you know, my parents get a big kick out of it because, you know, I don't want to say I'm not, I've never been a political person. I have strong beliefs and all that stuff, but it's the whole political scene has always rubbed me the wrong way, and I never wanted to even be a part of it. And my parents get a real kick out of calling me or saying that they've got a son that's a lobbyist now.
Crazy where life takes you.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah, because, you know, 5 years ago, whenever you know, I started Gypsy Rain Organics, literally all I wanted to do was grow vegetables for people. And 5 years later, you know, speaking in front of senators about why I should be able to sell my lettuce to people. Kind of wild.
I added a link to the group in our book club chat for those who are in the chat. If you're not in the chat, contact me and I will get you the link and get you in. It's free and it's good. But
Tad, you trimmed that beard before you went to the State House?
Of course not. There's so much power resides in the beard.
Yeah.
I did put on a nice shirt though. I didn't show up in my coveralls.
Couldn't see the buttons, but it looked good.
I don't know if Ray can see you. His beard is like that.
Yeah.
It's like Samson in the Bible, right?
Yeah, usually this time of year it's got some green and red tint to it because I usually dye it for Christmas. This year I didn't get around to dyeing it though.
Dude, you should market a bobblehead for yourself. Be pretty awesome.
Food Freedom bobblehead.
Yeah, Food Freedom bobblehead. That's awesome.
I think I got an idea there for you.
All right.
Kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's efforts, right?
I have a question.
There's no
Are there any groups that are not elected that cause you issues?
Tad, did you hear that?
Say that again.
Are there any groups that are not elected that cause you issues?
So like, for example, I have a lot of families out in Shelby County and Rush County. And when all the egg prices shot up, a lot of them would have chickens. Those chickens stopped laying eggs suddenly. And they figured out is if they bought from a certain food vendor, there was something in their food that caused their chickens not to lay eggs. So they would have to watch where they bought their feed from. And so it just, you get stuff like that that gets playing games with your produce and everything else. I didn't know.
Yeah, you know, I think my next big fight is going to be our water system.
Yeah.
Being an organic farm, I have to filter all my water. There was a study done on Indiana water this past year, and I posted about it, and I'm going to be off on the numbers, but you know, there's something like 170 different water municipalities in Indiana, and whenever they tested all these different municipalities, it was like over 60% of them tested above the acceptable level for herbicides and pesticides. So even you know, if I'm doing everything right, if I have to water my gardens and do it without filtering the water from the city, I'm essentially putting pesticides and herbicides on my on my plants. So, you know, yeah, that, and that's not really that's still kind of a government entity, but in my area, we had that same problem with the chicken feed last year. Luckily, I have a really good source for my chicken feed. I have a Amish community that my family has become really good friends with over the course of a couple generations. And one of the families in that community, they mill all a good majority of the feed for the rest of the Amish community and anybody who wants to buy it. So I buy a lot of my feed from them and trust them completely. It's, you know, he can't label it as organic or anything like that, but you know, I trust them at their word, and I've been feeding it for 5 years now and never had a problem. So I was trying to think if there's any other groups that ever, or entities that ever gave me much of any problem. And, you know, honestly, it's been outside of, you know, big ag or, you know, things like that, and they don't really have their eyes directly on me, but just as a general rule, they're not okay with small farms and the like. But no, not really. The local health inspector has been the biggest thorn in our side so far. Everybody else has been super perceptive receptive and love what we're doing and want to see us continue and get bigger and offer more stuff. And hopefully, yeah, like I said, with this food freedom bill, hopefully it'll allows us to do that.
So one thing I was thinking about is as the uptick in spring in the air is increasing. Yeah. I mean, the snow we have now is not melting; it's evaporating. Like I've never seen snow like this before.
Right.
And it's levels of aluminum in it, and everything else. I'm just wondering how much of that can farmland sustain before it's just not organic anymore.
Right. And that's the thing. And, you know, that's kind of the reason that we decided to not even bother with getting certified organic. Because in my mind, it's a sham. It's all a money-making scheme. And when they're doing stuff like with our water systems, with the cloud seeding and weather manipulation, and I mean, you know, I was even looking at getting organic compost from Earth First. So I got a load and we started using it, and the way they get all their material that they make their compost with and other stuff from trash collection. So in the cities where they have certain bags that, you know, limbs and sticks and all that stuff go in, yard waste goes in, and then regular trash another one. So all these bags that yard waste goes to the certain machine. They shred everything, including the plastic, and these machines are supposed to separate everything. Well, they do a decent job, I'll say, but there's still microplastic and all that, but it's certified organic. So, you know, it's just, you know, there's so much stuff that I see like that all the time that, you know, as far as all, I tell people I'm not worried about getting the certification. I'm doing everything that I can on my farm to make sure that everything is organic as it can possibly be. You know, there's exactly zero I can do about getting a foot of painted snow on my farm. I can't, you know, I wish I could build it. I wish I could build a dome over my farm and do it that way, but you know, I can't. And so, you know, with all that stuff, you know, they just certified, or they just, the FDA just okayed or greenlit another dicamba product. It's a new one that they say doesn't drift like old ones, but it's been proven it's impossible. You can't stop that stuff from drifting when you're spraying it out of airplanes. So, you know, there's all this stuff that we're trying to fight, and, you know, paying all that money to say we're certified organic is ridiculous. And we go above and beyond what they actually say that we have to do. So I don't know. I think the term organic can only mean, you know, you're doing as much as you can on your farm, because there's some, we're getting blasted from every angle with all of it, and we're just, I feel like we're just trying to hang on at this time and at this point and try to at least stop the wave.
It's interesting as a herbalist who studies nature and how nature works. I just sent this to you guys. But you know, it doesn't really matter what they're trying to do or what they are doing or what's intended and what isn't, because you can't disrupt nature. It just doesn't work that way. You know, there are wild foods that are pop up right in the middle of a GMO saturated field, because that's nature's way of healing, showing us it doesn't matter what you do, you can't mimic nature, and we can't. So a lot of terms of, like you said, organic, and well, we've got chemicals coming from the sky, which we all know. We know that they're doing this stuff, but in a way, what are they trying to sell us, right? Because of that, because fear is what sells. So that's why even as a practitioner, come to me and they're like, but my lab said this, and now I have this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, who cares, right? Because when you understand the way nature works and the way the human body works, everything is designed to repair anything, right? And now they're using a specific form of sorghum. I don't know if anybody saw it, but there's a specific form of sorghum that's completely resistant to dicamba and A2D, right? So it's always going to repair stuff. And we will too, if we just get out of the way and allow it to happen. So what you're doing on your farm is you are allowing everything to happen naturally. And I've been there. I see how you farm. You don't use any input. You use an input from nature. You don't use anything. So something that to circle back around all of this, it's so important with what India Holistic Healing Facebook community or even the website, but it's a community that helps people understand how to restore and repair at such levels, right? We have a book club so we can learn and grow together. We host events so we can learn and grow together. Everything is about learning and growing. And the more that you know, you won't support you won't support these big factory, big box stores that aren't doing anything except creating the problems that. So like Sam was saying, and Brian says it all the time, the curse of convenience gets people. But when you step outside of the curse of what makes your life easier, it becomes a habit anyway. It becomes your norm to drive an extra 10 minutes to support a to support
And knowing the people around you, like Tat said, where you go and get feed from your Amish friends that you know good quality feed, or keeping your circles tight, then you know what you're getting as far as products. You go to see somebody like Rick.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, our Amish friends are about 40 minutes away from us, and I could easily drive downtown Gordon 10 minutes away and get our feed. But you know, I don't trust who's making that feed or know anything about them or what their practices are or anything like that. So, you know, like Karen and Brian were saying, you know, they don't mind driving all over the state to support, you know, local farmers and small farms and that are doing the right thing. And that's, you know, that's the same way I feel. If I know that there's somebody that I can trust and build a relationship with them, and it costs me a little bit extra in gas and time, then, you know, that's so be it, because I know that I'm going to sleep better at night. I know that I'm doing the right thing for my customers. And, you know, it's just, it ends up being a better all around community project and product in the end.
Absolutely. It's all in what you, it just takes effort. It takes effort and it takes time. And it takes, like Sam, you didn't hear it, but Sam's new to us. We just met her, but she was talking about how you have to start not being relying on things, right? That's what gets us. That's how people like Austin Drake are telling us this stuff, which like Jen and I were talking, this isn't new to stuff like that, but it's new to a lot of people. They walk into a Kroger or a Walmart or even a Whole Foods, right? And they don't understand what they're supporting with a dollar. But at the same time, I'd love to know how many meds are they on, right? How stressed out are they? How crazy is their life? Because they're living within that person's convenience that's creating their problems. So anyway, follow the reading this book. So
Thank you all for
letting us be here.
yes, thank you.
Meeting the obviously the holiday. Like so everything that they're really make the trip.
That should be a wake up.
Yeah.
Awakening podcast. It's still available on Spotify and Apple and so forth.
I will link in with the video and I'll put a link in the chat as well.
Yellow, almond yellow, watermelons. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
A couple years ago, I had my first buyer. So we're more and more of a voice. You order like 50-55. Who's doing it? They're gone in 4 days.
I don't even get it. Like, there's in the Facebook group last time, everybody was like, "Where did you get these yellow?" I was like, "Georgetown." Everyone's like, "Goodbye, they're gone."
It's like 1 month of the year.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
from late August until September,
Karen, you want to announce our next gathering and next book?
Yes. So everybody who's on there, the gathering, I think is March 8th.
Yep.
I was asked a question. So it's Sunday, March 8th, we will be at
Structured.
I never say it right. Restructured Chiropractic with Dr. Nick. They wrote, and they're local. There's local authors who wrote a book that Jen and I are super excited about. That is called Reclaim Vitality. I don't have it in front of me, but we will be blasting it all over in Holistic Living. This book is outstanding. So it's and okay. You see, as a practitioner, if you're a practitioner in the state of Indiana and you are not reading this book, then shame on you, right? Because it really brings light to everything that every patient walks through your door has a problem with, right? Because we have all the information for you. All you have to do is do it. That's just it. But Reclaim Vitality is that because you just have to be so, it's like in your face with people today. All the things with, well, I didn't have time, or well, I didn't have this. And I'm like, okay, well, all your wells and all your excuses are why you're sitting here on 10 different meds and 20 different supplements and why you're angry that your life isn't getting any better, right? So it's time for accountability for ourselves.
Agency.
So agency, and that's it. This book, Reclaim Vitality, will get rid of all your excuses, and so you can reclaim your own vitality and the agency over your own health. And stop letting your health bills, and then you're mad. So that's what that book is going to bring to all of us, and it's going to be outstanding. It already is. We already start. I mean, it is so good. I was on fire just in chapter 1, like in such a good way. It's going to be amazing. Okay, we will get it posted. Paige will make sure that everybody has the link to the book. I think Leah might be bringing some down to the apothecary so people can buy physical copies of the book. We'll blast it all out so everybody knows.
Where are they located?
It's on 96th Street, Reclaim, or restructured chiropractic. So it's 3940 West.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
See ya.
Let's have
Okay. Yeah, we're over on the east side. Something Pike and